So now we get ourselves ready for the fastest karts here this weekend at the Circuit International de Salbris here in France. It is the X30 Super Shifters, the Gearbox Senior category. And this is where the roughest, toughest, meanest fighting machines on the grid will do battle. There's 13 of them on the grid. It doesn't sound a lot, but trust me, once these guys get racing, it's fast, furious, and frenetic, and incredibly exciting to watch as these guys do battle around the circuit. Stendorian Pirimagi is the man who starts this race from pole position, and indeed he will all of the qualifying heats after impressing in qualifying yesterday with some pretty spectacular qualifying laps, and it saw him in good stead for this one as he battles his way to glory. And qualifying yesterday saw a pretty close finish to proceedings, actually. There was only 7,000ths of a second between our two men on the front of the grid, Stendorian Pirimagi and Kasper Korjus, the two Estonians, as they will line up on the front row of the starting grid. But a fantastic run thus far. It's been a pretty strong day at the office as the drivers continue to do battle. But the racing is going to be pretty fast and frenetic between these drivers, as their karts are obviously the fastest of the drivers here. And the gearbox added to the fast nature of this circuit and the sweeping technical challenge in front of them means that these guys will definitely have to be on their A game. But a 58.110 in qualifying yesterday for Stendorian Pirimagi made him the fastest of the qualifying heat drivers. Kasper Korjus alongside him on the front row of the grid, with the Winter Cup champion from a few weeks ago, Nicolas Rohrwasser, third position on the grid alongside the Spaniard Carlos Leon, who is there in the FA racing kart in fourth place. Then Barry Pullinger, the Brit, is on the third row of the starting grid alongside Thierry Del Rey on the Mach 1 machine. And then we have Philip Seaver and Michel Biffiger, so strong at Valencia a few weeks ago, on the fourth row of the grid. Then Kevin Luddy, only 9th on the grid for this one, so watch him trying to charge his way through from Flo Jimenez, the French driver. And then we have Antti Rameau, who of course is a former Formula Renault 2.0 category driver. The Estonian lines up beside the Belgian Leonard Chalet, and then the Portuguese star João Dias will line up in the Cosmic on the back end of the grid. So the first qualifying heat of the X30 Super Shifter can begin in earnest now with a 58.110 second qualifying lap, putting Stendorian Pirimagi in first position on the grid alongside his countryman Kasper Korjus in the FA racing kart and the Tony kart respectively. In those two challenging for that first corner is going to be really interesting indeed, from Nico Rohrwasser and Carlos Leon, with the British racer Barry Pullinger from Halstead in Essex in Great Britain, Thierry Del Rey, the Belgian, on the third row of the grid as well. Then Philip Seaver and Michel Biffiger, the two Swiss drivers, on the fourth row of the grid from another Swiss in the same team, Spirit Racing, Kevin Luddy, 9th on the grid, along with the 632 of local man Flo Jimenez. And then we have Antti Rameau, Leonard Chalet, the number 621 there, and João Dias, the Portuguese star, lining up in 13th on the grid. The first of 3 races for the qualifying heats for the X30 Super Shifters. And the thing that sets this race apart from all of the other categories is not only the speed, is not only the seniority of the drivers in the paddock and the experience behind them, but also the start. You've got 2 formation laps as normal, but these guys have a standing start. And a lot of the people in the paddock here, drivers, mechanics, spectators, engineers, likewise, they all like to rush forward when the X30 Super Shifters race gets underway because of the electrifying sensation of speed of the standing start. It is something pretty spectacular to behold. And these guys have to do an awful lot more physical work than some of the other drivers here do, because of combining not only the tough nature of the circuit when the karts are a little bit faster than all the others, but also adding to that gear changes galore, and that really does make things very, very tough. The IX Racing teammates there, the 2 Estonians, battling away for the early stages of proceedings as the 2 countrymen, Stendorian Pirimagi and Kasper Korjus, hug on a fair fight. There's a lot of spirit of camaraderie in this particular championship as well. The drivers love racing against each other. They take it very seriously, but there is a much more playful air to their racing. Senior karting is much more for those drivers who would be in Formula 1 had money been a bit kinder to them in their bank accounts on the way through. But these guys certainly have an awful lot more fun than perhaps some of the other drivers who are obviously making their way for a journeyman's motor racing career. These guys have to subsidize another job to go racing, but they have an awful lot of absolutely spectacular battles. And here at Salbris will be no exception, with the two Estonians on the front of the grid, Stendorian Pirimagi and Kaspar Koržius. There's going to be plenty of drivers charging for that first corner to beat them. It's now time for the X30 Super Shifter qualifying Heat 1. And after yesterday's qualifying session, it's going to be a blindingly quick race. Stendorian Pirimagi and Kaspar Koržius, the two Estonians from the front row of the grid. Nico Rohrwasser, the new IAME X30 Super Shifter Winter Cup champion, third on the grid alongside the Spaniard Carlos Leon. Barry Pullinger of Great Britain alongside Thierry Del Rey of Belgium. And then the three Swiss, Philipp Siever, Michel Biffiger and Kevin Ludi, with in 10th place the local man Flo Jimenez. Then we have Antti Rameau of Estonia, Leonor Chalet of Belgium and Joao Diaz of Portugal. 11 laps around this Circuit International de Salbris. And it's going to be very intense racing in these particular karts. And of course, after the two formation laps in the X30 Super Shifters, we get the standing start. And everybody loves to watch this. We were watching them practice their standing starts earlier this morning, and it really did look pretty spectacular. We love watching them as they battle their way around the circuit. And off the line, you get to see quite a few drivers starting from their point of view out of position. That's where they'll make up an awful lot of their ground. So 2 laps of formation around the circuit later, and they will form up on the grid in their starting grid slots, Formula 1 style, as they get ready for the action around the circuit. It's going to be really exciting to see how they charge off the line. But the two Estonians at the front of the grid, we saw them racing beautifully at Valencia a few weeks ago, Stendorian Pirimagi and Kaspar Koržius. Koržius was the man on form throughout practice and qualifying in the entirety of the weekend in Valencia, but it was in the races on the Saturday and Sunday where things really didn't go to plan. So he's hoping that this time here in Salbris, the kart is a little bit more simpatico with him mechanically, and he can do what he chooses to do with it rather than what the kart dictates is going to happen. But the standing start is going to be absolutely magnificent and majestic to watch, as it always is in the X30 Super Shifters. And it's a little bit more of a spicy way of getting the racing underway. And I can tell you that quite a lot of people have suddenly realized, oh yes, it's the X30 Super Shifters race now. We're going to gather along the side of the circuit and watch the start. It is an amazing start, the X30 Super Shifters. There's nothing quite like gearbox karts on a standing start, flying off the line. The explosion of noise and color and that absolutely magnificent odor as they charge towards turn 1. It is truly for the heart and soul of the karting aficionado. It goes right down to the bone marrow of the fans of this sport. It's absolutely wonderful, and it's a pure example of motorsport at its best. People have told me about gearbox karting. It is as close as Formula 1 as you can get without glamour or money. It is absolutely amazing. So the drivers line up on the grid then. Stendorian Pirimagi and Kaspar Koržius on the front row of the grid. Nicolas Rohrwasser and Carlos Leon on the second row. Then it is Barry Pullinger and Thierry Del Rey, Philipp Siever and Michel Biffiger, Kevin Ludi and Flo Jimenez, Antti Rameau, Leonor Chalet and Joao Diaz. And I can barely hear myself think with these karts on the starting line right beside me. The engine revs rise and we wait for the start. We're about to go racing. The lights out and away we go. And it's a cracking start from the front of the grid. No problem at all for Stendorian Pirimagi. Looks like a good start too from Kevin Ludi. I think he's made up a couple of places. But as they charge through to turn 2, it's already a very frenetic start. But no change at the front two. Stendorian Pirimagi and Kaspar Koržius got perfect getaways. The one who's really struggling off the line appears to be Carlos Leon, who's dropped back a couple of places off the start initially. So already there is quite a hard charge to move their way forward. But it's the two Estonians, Pirimagi and Koržius, that have got away absolutely as they meant to. Charging away from the front of the field. And already we've got a bit of a battle as the 612 goes to battle. That is Philipp Siever trying to move his way through the field in the early stages. Drivers will go for overtaking moves here where they perhaps wouldn't do elsewhere, as that looks like Kevin Ludi making his way past the inside of another competitor. Not sure who that was he got past there. I wonder if that's the, I think that's Carlos Leon actually. Yes, it is, the 619 of Carlos Leon, who has dropped a long way back off the start. Not the greatest getaway in history, but it's Pirimagi who leads. Koržius in second, Rohrwasser in third, from Del Rey, Biffiger, Siever, Ludi, Leon, Rameau. Then it is Jimenez, Pullinger and Chalet with Diaz at the back of the field. Looks like there's a mechanical problem. Looks like we got a mechanical problem further back. I wonder if that is Leonor Chalet having a difficulty with the kart. Just trying to figure out where Joao Diaz is around the circuit, just to make sure we have got a full contingent. It looks like we have, but Diaz is a little way further back from the rest of the field with some mechanical difficulties. Oh, actually, I wonder if that's Leonor Chalet, actually, who's got problems. No, it is Jimenez. Jimenez has got a problem there. So Flora Jimenez has got a mechanical problem, the local hero. So Flora Jimenez definitely with a problem, unfortunately. And it looks as though that could be terminal. So mechanical problems for Flo Jimenez, and it could be his race ending, which is a real shame for the local talent. I'm just trying to see if he's managed to keep the kart going again. Oh, he is there at the back. So it's just a technical hiccup. It's not a race ending at the moment, but we'll see how it goes and how it progresses. So some interesting battles as the racing continues. But it is Stendorian Piramagi who leads the way. Second is Kasper Korjus from Nico Rohrwasser. Rohrwasser trying to close them down. But at the moment, Kasper Korjus having a good battle with Stendorian Piramagi. Fourth place is Thierry Del Rey, the Belgian. Very, very talented at this level. One of the stars of Benelux karting at senior level. And there isn't much he doesn't know about DD2 racing or gearbox racing at X30 Super Shifter level. Michel Biffiger in fifth place. His teammate Kevin Luddy is behind him. And Kevin Luddy is on purple sectors at the moment. So he is there in sixth place, trying to make a move for his teammate Michel Biffiger. He goes down the inside at 14. No questions asked there from Kevin Luddy. He goes straight down the inside of Biffiger. Philip Seaver's not far back from them. Carlos Leon is next. Difficulties in the early stages for Barry Pullinger. He's currently battling away with Antti Rameau. They come off the final turn together, and Pullinger has got through to move up into ninth place. But Leonard Chalet and Joao Diaz have pulled well clear of Flo Jimenez. Flo Jimenez is crawling back to the pits by the look of it. All sorts of mechanical problems for the local hero. But how about this between our two leaders? Kasper Korjus is going to make the move on Stendorian Piramagi. Up the inside, he gets through. Nice overtake from Kasper Korjus. So he is through. And that is going to tighten things up with the third place man, Nico Rohrwasser, trying to rule them in. As he made the move, Korjus for the lead of the race. So I'm afraid to say that Flo Jimenez has retired. So his race has ended as he pulls the kart into the pits. So racing is still very fast and frenetic between the three leaders up in front. Korjus, Pirimagi and Rohrwasser. Rohrwasser is now right in there in third position, trying to close up. Here we go. Great battle. Fourth position. This is going well from Thierry Del Rey. Del Rey's not far away from this trio actually as well either. So fifth place Kevin Luddy is chasing them down. This could be a five-way fight for the victory. Rohrwasser tightens up on Pirimagi. Kasper Korjus gets a little bit wayward through four, and that's going to compromise his exit. Down the back straight. He's got a little bit of breathing space to Pirimagi. The fastest man of the race though is Kevin Luddy. Luddy is closing up on the fourth place man, Thierry Del Rey. And it looks like we're going to have five drivers battling for the victory here, with Korjus leading, Piramagi second, Rohrwasser third, Del Rey fourth, and Luddy in fifth. Then it's Biffiger, Seaver, Leon, Pullinger, Ramos, Chalet, and Diaz. Great battles so far, but Piramagi is trying to get one back over on Kasper Korjus. He doesn't want to let Nico Rohrwasser get too close to him. Kevin Luddy is just getting on with chasing after the man in fourth place, Thierry Del Rey. And Del Rey's got a problem! Del Rey's got a problem! Del Rey's out! Oh no, Del Rey absolutely pounding his fists on the steering wheel. Thierry Del Rey out of the race from fourth place. There he is, crawling in. Absolute frustration and bitter resentment for Thierry Del Rey, battling for what could have been a fight for the podium. And Del Rey's car comes to a stop on the pit lane entry. Devastating for Thierry Del Rey. Oh, the Belgian was looking so good in this race. He had a chance to close up on Nico Rohrwasser and was doing so. Who knows where he could have finished in this one. What a disaster for Thierry Del Rey. His race is over. And then there were four. Korjus, Piramagi, Rohrwasser, and Kevin Luddy. Now, can Kevin Luddy, with a clear track in front of him, start to close the gap? Well, the answer at the moment is yes. He's just gone purple in the second sector, trying to chase these three down. So Korjus, Piramagi, and Rohrwasser battling for the victory. Look out, boys. Here comes Kevin Luddy. Fourth place, and he is reeling them in. Watch out, boys. Here he comes. There is Kevin Luddy, chasing them down. So the leading three, and he has got time to catch them at the rate he's currently going. Well, Kasper Korjus has responded. He's just done a 59.025, the new fastest lap of the race. Only about 0.06 of a second quicker than Kevin Luddy is managing. So for the moment, Kasper Korjus looks like he might have enough in the bag. But it's Korjus, Piramagi, Rohrwasser, Luddy, Biffiger is 5th place, then Carlos Leon, Barry Pullinger, and then we have Antti Rameau. From 9th position, we have Leonor Chalet and Joao Diaz. It looks like Philip Seaver is out of the race now as well. Philip Seaver with problems, and his race has run. So Philip Seaver, unfortunately, has dropped out of the race in the 3rd and final sector as well. So these are very, very highly strung karts, and they do provide problems if they're not quite up to the scratch that they should be for the full race distance. So Philip Seaver's race has ended as well. And that is a disaster for the Swiss, who was doing such a good job at Valencia. He was in the top 3 for all of the weekend there. So we've lost Flora Jimenez, we've lost Thierry Delray, one of the biggest names in the field, and we've lost Philip Seaver as well. So Kojus, Pedamagi, Robassa, and Kevin Luddy in the top 4. You don't expect mechanical failure in the Super Shifters, but when it happens, it is catastrophic. So the drivers who have fallen foul of the mechanical misdemeanors are definitely going to struggle to get their karts ready for the second. There's Kevin Luddy in 4th place, the 611, just chipping away a little bit by little bit at the drivers in front of him. Fastest of all in the 1st sector. Fastest of all in the 2nd sector too. Oh, I apologize. Stendori and Pedamagi slightly quicker in that 2nd sector in 2nd place. But Luddy is definitely closing up on his teammate Nico Robassa. So it looks like it's going to be a 4-way scrap by the end of this race, because Luddy is reeling him in big time. Here they come. Kojus, Pedamagi, Robassa, and Luddy. Luddy is definitely getting closer now. So Luddy is fastest of all over the course of the entire lap, and it's going to be a 4-way battle in the final 3 laps of racing here. But can it be a fight to the victory all the way to the death? That's going to be the intriguing factor. Up towards turn 6, no problems off the back straight. But Casper Kojus leads the way. Pedamagi 2nd, Robassa 3rd, then Luddy, then Biffiger and Carlos Leon are having a good battle. And then we have Barry Pullinger trying to pull away from Antti Rameau, and doing so at the moment to the tune of 2.3 seconds. So Barry Pullinger could still be in with a chance of a top 6 if something happens to the men in front. And with the top 4 still very close together, there's no reason why that might not happen. And even the battle for 5th place is getting quite close, because we've got Michel Biffiger defending Big Star from Carlos Leon. Carlos Leon tries to get through on the X side, but he's not quite been able to do so. So Kojus, Pedamagi, Robassa, and Luddy, the top 4, almost together now. There's about 0.6 of a second between each of them as they come through. Meanwhile, Biffiger and Leon are having an amazing scrap for 5th position. I want to drop back to Biffiger and Leon for 5th and 6th place if we can, because they're getting quite dicey. Biffiger is defending big time to Carlos Leon at the moment as they come off of turn 5. He's managed to pull out a little bit of a gap. In fact, I wonder if Carlos Leon's got a little bit of a hiccup out of turn 4, because he seems to have dropped back off the back of Biffiger a little bit more than he would have wanted to. So a couple of problems there, perhaps, potentially. Not quite sure if that's a long-term difficulty. But out in front, no difficulty at all for Casper Kojus. In front of Pedamagi, Robassa, and Luddy. Luddy closing in with 2 to go. He might just snatch 3rd position before the end of this race. He is reeling in his teammate pretty quickly. Carlos Leon seems to have dropped off the back of Michel Biffiger enough that Biffiger could be comfortable in 5th place, but they're both being caught pretty rapidly by Barry Pullinger, who's taking 0.2 of a second per sector out of them at the moment. So Barry Pullinger is absolutely decimating the gap. Again, he was about a second quicker than the man in front of him, Carlos Leon. I think Leon might have a difficulty. I think he's got a mechanical problem developing here, because Barry Pullinger is reeling both him and Michel Biffiger up pretty quickly. Leon's got back onto the speed again and is trying to close up on Biffiger, but I'm not sure he's going to have enough time to get there. However, Luddy might have enough time to get past Robassa before the end of this race. He's trying to reel him in through the final sectors of the lap. But out in front, it is going to be Casper Kojus. This is going to be a rich reward for all the effort he put in the early stages of Valencia to have all that bad luck come his way. His kart was an absolute write-off by the end of the meeting in terms of where it should have been. But this time, Casper Kojus is going to take victory. Out of the final turn, Casper Kojus comes through and wins in fine style. Brilliant victory for Casper Kojus. He wins from Stendori and Pedamagi. Robassa is 3rd from Kevin Luddy in 4th place. Biffiger is going to beat Carlos Leon to the flag for 5th and 6th. Pullinger gets closer for 6th position. But he doesn't quite make it in the end. 7th place is his. Antti Rameau comes home in 8th place. Then it is Lionel Cholet who comes home in 9th position, with Joao Diaz finishing up in 10th place. The retirements are Philip Seaver, Thierry Del Rey, and the local man, Florent Jimenez. But it's Casper Corjus at an average speed of 90.67 kilometers per hour who wins in fine style. Fastest lap of the race, though, Casper Corjus, a 59.025. Pitamagi second, Rohrwasser, Ludi and Biffiger make it a Swiss 3.45. Carlos Leon is sixth from Barry Pullinger for the Dan Holland Racing Team. Antti Rameau is eighth from Leon Ochalet, Joao Diaz. And then we had our three retirements in Philip Seaver, Thierry Del Rey, and Florent Jimenez. So, exciting stuff was predicted in the X30 Super Shifters. We weren't wrong. A good battle there. And a really good start to proceedings as far as we're concerned. It was always going to be an exciting, enticing race there. And it's taken by Casper Corjus, who beats his rival Sten-Dorian Pitamagi after a fantastic battle. And it's Casper Corjus who draws first blood in the X30 Super